Adversity? Bring it. The struggle? We welcome it. Snooze on life? Never that. We are Dave Regina and Mike Pirelli, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 142. As always, I'm in the booth with the big three. Michael, the show Pirelli, Claudio, the voice, Valenzuela, and I am Dave, the body, Regina.
I have a request.
Talk
for
me.
You know how you get the dimes for your dime of the week?
Yeah.
I would like popcorn when you do my intro. Just popping.
Popcorn, the show. Wait, before we get started on a very serious note, on a serious note, Michael, the show Pirelli, big news. We have been a part of the journey of his build-out of Mike Pirelli Greenwich Real Estate, and he had his first official closing.
Yes.
Which, you know what?
Hard-earned.
I don't mean to say that I'm proud of you in a way that makes it seem like...
You could say it like that.
No, but
What do you mean?
some people take that bad. Like,
In what way?
why would you be proud? I don't know. I think
like it.
I
Give me
think
the
it's an
accolades.
incredible thing. I think we don't give people their flowers often enough, and it is very inspiring to watch.
Yeah.
I know it's not easy, but I just want to say congratulations, my brother.
Thank you. It was the hardest sale I've ever done. Not the sale, but getting to the point of the sale, having the second kid, starting it all, going from basically October until March without a real closing, which was like, it was tough.
Do you feel this is now a momentum shift for you?
Yeah, for me, there's a lot of times where I set kind of milestones that are like, all right, I just need to get to this point and then I can breathe a little bit. And that was one of them, was like, get on the board, make your first point, break the ice. And I have stuff in contract, other things that should close in the next couple weeks. But that first one, like anything, like your first point in like a basketball game or breaking the ice is always the hardest part.
How did you, looking back now, over a 4-month process? Because technically, I mean, you're very unique. Well, just real estate and commission in general is unique because if you're not closing, you could even set a closing date, and that could be 2 months out.
Yeah.
But during a time period that you did renovations, you got 2 kids, you have a beautiful wife, and everything is kind of in order, but the finances aren't exactly coming in.
Yeah.
How did you stay, I guess, mentally tough enough to withstand a 4-month period like that?
So it wasn't easy, but it's cycles, right? And now I've been in the business 10 years, so I anticipated it, but even anticipating it, it's still way more than what I remembered because of daycare, because of new things that are added. So you kind of reset the standard of how much, cushion you need.
Yep.
And I've done certain things where I at least have the cushion to be able to not sell anything for a long time. Mentally, that's tough because they're around the corner and you have stuff in contract and it will close.
Yep.
But there is always you never want to bank on that. And there is always the chance those deals fall through.
Right.
So until you get that check in your bank account, it's a lot of like holding your breath. But for Dana and I mean, I got loosey-goosey for a long time because I was doing very well. The market was ripping. I didn't really have to get tight on the finances. Now that I'm on my own, I'm handling everything, all the expenses, all the licensing. I've had to really kind of be humble and go back to the roots of like, I'm not buying nice T-bone steaks every week. I'm eating ground meat, chicken
and
thighs.
potatoes.
Yeah, chicken, potatoes, rice. Like, it's been good because not that I ever got like, what's a good word? Like cocky. I never was cocky. I just didn't have to worry about that because there was other things I was focusing on.
That makes sense.
So now that I'm refocusing there, it's made me a lot more conscious of how I next time around, next winter, to relieve a little stress. Hopefully I won't be starting another company. It'll just be what I have. And I'll have a little more of a war chest so I can relax a little more because this holiday season, although it was phenomenal, it was probably the most stressful of my life to date.
Right.
Wow. So
no, it's fun to watch, man. I know it's not easy.
The other mention I want to make, the other hard part about it is I'm very public. So like, yes, to an extent, I don't really care what people think. But I feel the eyes of people watching what I do.
But is that a you thing though?
What?
Because I feel like sometimes I do that too.
What?
Is that, like you said you feel the eyes?
So feel the eyes in the sense of like, maybe not feel the eyes, but like I hear the voices because when I see people, it's unavoidable. how's everything going? How's the new company? What's going on? Like, I haven't seen you post in a while. Like, everything all right? How are the kids? So being so public, when you're taking a little break or like have a rough week, like I didn't post on No Snooze, I don't think in like 4 days, which is like very uncommon. But people are asking, like, are you okay? Like, is everything all right? And I'm all right. It's just there's certain things I can't get done now that I used to be able to just knock out because I had the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the effect of that and being very public on like what I'm building and how I'm going about building it, it gives people, no one's been critical, but there's just a little more questioning and, people reminding you things like, hey, you haven't posted in a while. What's going on?
I understand.
Or have you sold anything? I haven't seen you post about anything.
Oh, I would be like,
and
I would tag them in the sale.
But there's no malicious intent.
Sometimes.
No, there isn't. There isn't. It's like, at least I don't think. So, and then now with the Not Another Real Estate Show, which is very public, there's going to be, I'm not like releasing how much we make and all that stuff, but I'm listing prices, we have this in contract at this price, we have this. So the thought that is unavoidable is like, all right, what if we don't do anything? What am I just going to say? Hey, we don't have any new contracts this month. Yeah, I have to.
It should be.
So it's this weird, like, while starting a company, which is hard enough, being very public about it, which I want to do, and I think it's beneficial, but it adds even more pressure,
Yeah.
So,
no, man, good stuff. There was a
and thank you. I appreciate the kind words, and it's nice to be prouded by someone. So don't ever hesitate.
Prouded. That might be the word of the epi.
I actually don't take any offense when anyone says stuff like that, because I feel as though it's not that I've been slighted like in the local community, but there's the amount of things I've done, and I don't get invites to like anything, like the Greenwich Wine and Food Festival, like not even invite. So not to say that I want one, but it's interesting that the amount of stuff that I do in the community for food, and people like don't even acknowledge it, which is fine. I don't need it, but it's nice to hear it.
Yeah, and listen, man, I genuinely mean it. I've watched everything from the ground up, and I know the good days, I know the bad days, and I feel like just even as boys, sometimes we don't talk enough in our circles about the good things that people are doing.
And I want to thank you guys, because obviously I've taken a lot of stuff from No Snooze as far as mindset, mental capacity, strategies, management, just getting into a routine. I mean, it's not reflected recently, but over the past, however long we've done this, 3 years, has definitely been a big part of it.
Yeah, no, beautiful. And I love when it all ties in. I like to sometimes give a recommendation on a podcast that I listen to.
Okay.
And I think this one is going to be interesting, even for us in general. And this was a Ed Milet, surprise, but it was called The Secret to a Happy Life with Dr. Robert Waldinger. And Waldinger, good name.
My nose.
That's a top tier name.
I thought, is that his real name, or are you just being funny?
No, Dr. Waldinger.
All right.
So anyway, this study, though, is the longest study that's ever been recorded on individuals, specifically, I guess they were about 20 when they started, all the way through. They followed them their entire life. JFK was actually one of the participants in the study. There was over 800 people before he was ever president, though. How cool is that?
That's cool, but didn't end great.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But so the whole episode is about how you find fulfillment and happiness in general. And obviously you can think of the things. If I were to ask you, what makes you happy? You might think about the general things like, family time, success at a job, passion, maybe some money, health, right? Those are all things that I would assume have bring somebody happiness. But the one thing that was scientifically proven throughout this entire study was actually, drum roll, please. Can you guess?
Cookies.
Oreos, right? The one thing that stood out here was that the individual's relationships throughout their entire life, so personal, professional, was the top thing that was the separator of individual happiness.
Makes
that
sense.
was shocking to me.
Oh, really?
It was shocking. Yeah, because I would think that.
But you're very social. You must have.
What? No.
Oh, I guess because it's the top, you're saying?
No, yes, exactly. So, like, I pride myself in relationships, right? The individuals that I'm close to, personally, professionally, I really, take time, I guess, to invest in these relationships.
And you're way more thoughtful than the majority of at least people I know. And
Well, now.
for sure myself, like I'm very bad at keeping in touch with people, which you would think in the industry I'm in, I'd be better.
But it's hard.
But I'm not.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have thought that that would be the top thing that basically was the scale of fulfillment and happiness. So it just goes to show that your relationships in your life, you know, whether it's with a spouse or it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, coworker, relationships in total, though, they mean much more than we actually think. And it's a very good thing. It's called, it's a very good podcast. It's called The Secret to a Happy Life. Ed Milet, so you can check it out.
I like it. No reason to listen to it now, though. We just got the...
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
That was the punchline. You just were like, you know what, friends?
Speaking of happiness, I'll tell you guys this. And I don't know if it's just me. So I've been taking a deep dive, I guess, into Narcos. Right?
What a random...
No, it's a big shift. But talk about happiness here. I've watched it for probably 5 nights now, and I do it before I go to bed.
Yeah.
I have woken up all 5 nights either thinking I'm being chased by the Colombian cartel.
Yeah.
Either fighting with somebody in my dream about the cocaine industry. Having extreme nightmares that Pablo is coming after me. And when I take my ass to sleep and listen to like a positive podcast, I don't have these issues.
Yeah.
So is it me, or is that happen to everybody when you watch negative things like this?
I can't do it anymore. Like that show, The End of Us, whatever it was, way too stressful. I told Dana I can't do this. This is like traumatic type stuff.
Okay, and so it happens to you.
Yeah, but I like if that happens, I'll throw on like ridiculousness and laugh.
Yeah,
like I need a couple good laughs before I go to bed. Lately, I've been just working until going to sleep, which also is kind of nice because then your brain just shuts off.
Right.
Sometimes you run the risk of thinking about work.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
But yeah, you can't. I can't watch anything intense before bed.
Good. All right. I thought it was just me. CV, what about you? Can you watch anything like that or no? No.
CV's like, I love it.
Yeah. Well, some people I know, man, they watch. You know.
Well, you watch
wild things.
dark stuff.
I could watch videos and stuff of you know,
it's dark.
Of dark
I can't,
things
and
like
you make
that.
me watch them.
But I don't watch them before I go to bed.
I know, but at any time in life, those are
Pablo
rough.
was after me, man. I'm telling you.
I don't think we started Narcos. I love a good like crime, mob type story bit because it's kind of intertwined with business drama. It's kind of got it all. I've become less interested in shows because too much of a time investment.
Yes,
You'd think that movies would be. But I like it. You're in and out. We've talked about this.
Yeah, I'm not a big movie guy, but
and if there's like 7 of them, I'm like, I'm not even gonna start it because I will get locked in, love it, and be like, I need to watch all of them. Then I'm like, what's the point? It's the same story over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get into a little more action, and just a little more with my hands.
I'm a big rom-com guy.
I can see that.
Titanic, solid.
Sucks that movie.
How's your body, man?
Whatever
Talk
gets
to me
you
about
kicks.
your body. What happened?
Oh my God. Well, let's just say I've discovered I've reinvigorated my love for beef patties, Jamaican beef patties. I used to visit Phil Cat, and that was like our thing. We'd go out, and then we'd land at the bodega around the corner or whatever, and I'd just be like hammering beef patties.
He's a big beef patty.
Do you like beef patties? Well, you know what I was thinking? I'm like, is there a healthy beef patty you can make? Because it's literally just dough and then filling.
Probably, right?
And it comes down to ratios, right?
Can you air fry them?
Yeah, you can air fry them, but I'm saying the ones you get from the store are probably about 300 calories and about 20 grams of protein. But that's not too far off from being a decent, macro. So if you can get the right dough of some sort, or like a complement, or maybe you just make the filling and put it on like a nice low-cal tortilla or something. It's not too far off from what I've enjoyed, so I'm trying to maybe work that into the healthy part of the diet. Disclosure: when I'm eating these beef patties, it's like I haven't eaten all day. I threw out my back. There's a whole nother story to that. So, was on a roll. Kids were sleeping. Working out was great. I was crushing it. Not saying that I'm completely off the rails, but I had a rough weekend, 4 or 5 days. I threw out my back on Saturday morning, right before Dana came back home with Livy, who went to the doctor and had pink eye, strep throat, and an ear infection.
The big three.
The big three. So we had to cancel because they're contagious in the beginning. So we had to cancel all of our, the birthday party. We were going to go to St. Rock's or St. Patrick's Day. And so that just shut down. Then we were just in the house all day with the kids.
Mm.
I didn't want to tweak the back worse. Wanted to stay in the game. Not much has changed. You know, I haven't gotten the momentum to start to the upswing of a nice cut for the summer. But when do you usually start? I know you don't need to cut, but like when do you tighten up for the summer? Tell the people what like is the right timing you think.
I'd say April. So
April?
right around now.
So about a couple weeks.
You know, right around now by April 15th. You just want to. I like to do it. I don't like to do the extreme thing. It's just not me because it's not sustainable for me.
Yep.
I know somebody who likes the extreme thing.
Not anymore.
You know,
I'm out of that game.
You're out of that game. But yeah, I like to. You know, I would say the most I ever go with my body fat probably what 11 and a half ish, somewhere around there.
I don't know. Don't ask me.
But if I'm gonna cut, I'd like to, you know, go 1% a month, right? So if I could drop down to like 9.5 over a 2-month period, be at 8.5 maybe in the summertime. I like to do it gradually.
Yep.
You know?
I feel like it's so much easier to get in good shape in the summer.
A lot more motivation, right?
Motivation. It's nicer out.
External.
There's
Stuff.
a little external. It's
Yeah.
brighter out.
We're not as white.
Yeah, your shirt's off more.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hope.
I live on a lake, so I'm
Yeah,
outside.
you just live in the lake. You're the lake
Literally.
monster.
I think this year will be the first year that I actually take a vacation and just stay at my
Didn't you do that last
house,
year?
just in a tent on the lake.
A tent.
Yeah, I might as well. I'm serious. I might
You're
as well
gonna
just do
glamp?
that. I'm doing glamping. Yeah. As long as there's a bathroom,
Just
I
a
could do
big
that.
extension cord and running.
Yes. See
Everything.
if you could do real camping. I can't do that stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm getting handy though, so it's possible.
You could build one.
No, we can build one. Build a tent.
Build a bathroom in my tent.
No, I can't build
No?
that. Just dig a hole. There you go. Done.
Yeah, just go on the lake. Fuck it.
Yeah. I tried to fix the dent. And remember, did I talk about how I got hit by someone in the
Yes.
parking lot?
Yeah,
So I tried to fix the dent with a dent kit that I got for the fridge for the tenant's house.
like a suction thing.
Yeah, it's like hot glue. You put this tab on it, and then this thing hooks, and you crank it, and it pulls it out. So I was like, I think they said you could do this for cars. Keep in mind, this is for like little dents on a fridge or a car. This dent is probably this big in the fender. So it's like you really need more equipment. So I was real stubborn. I started to get it a little bit. I pulled some parts of it out, but then the hot glue stuck, and I couldn't get the hot glue off. So I've been driving around with this hot glue on my car for like black hot glue too.
Oh, wow.
So it looks like someone might have dented it with like the other car, but then when you get close, you're like, what is this? It looks
Put
like
a sign on it.
like an alien trying to grab it. So yesterday I got a 97% alcohol from your local CVS for about $2. And apparently if you spray and then like rub it off, it starts to come off. So
Oh, it's a good hack.
we're back to square one. And I
Okay.
just bought another tool on Amazon that's a curved crowbar that I'm going to try to take at this dent. And my message for people here is you can be successful in getting handy and fixing this, but are you stubborn enough? That's the real question.
Stubborn enough to stay in the game.
Yeah. Because most people already would have went to the dealer and been like,
Oh, I
fix
would've
my
been
car.
there the next day.
But I'm so invested in this thing now where I'm like, I don't care if it takes me 5 years. This dent's coming out.
And I'm doing it.
And I'll probably, once the dent comes out, I'll probably just bring it to get it fixed. But just to show that I could pop the dent out, which is ridiculous.
yeah.
But it's, you got to build the wins, the small wins.
Yep, that's true. All right, let's get into today's topic. But before we do that, CV, let them know where you get this protein at.
We wanted to take a quick second to let you guys know that we partnered with our good friends over at Orgain.com. We're happy to offer our listeners 30% off by entering the code NOSNOOZE30. Again, that's NOSNOOZE30 for 30% off your first order. If you're on the market for a new protein powder, nutritional shake, protein bar, or Mike's favorite, collagen peptides, Orgain is your one-stop shop. As all of you know, my Crohn's disease is currently in remission, and the only protein I use is from Orgain. My personal favorites are the chocolate peanut butter and the vanilla bean. With the code, you can try a 2-pound tub for under $20. Talk about not snoozing. Go get yours today. Now, back to the epi.
All right, so today's topic, we're going to talk about how to stop negotiating with yourself. Now, a couple weeks back, we dropped an epi titled something along the lines, I don't remember exactly, but how to stop self-sabotaging. Right now, somebody wrote in, so thank you very much, and said, love the topic on self-sabotage, but one of my forms of sabotage is actually I get into a negotiation with myself.
My favorite
Right.
thing to do.
Yeah. So if you find yourself constantly talking yourself out of things, welcome to the club. Congratulations.
everyone
because
does
I
it,
think
right?
everybody does that. But I think self-negotiation is definitely a self-sabotaging tactic that keeps us from evolving and changing in a positive way. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think change, although it's very hard, change is very good and it can be positive. So today's conversation, we're going to go back and forth on the levels of negotiation that are kind of good, and then the levels of negotiation that then when you ultimately take yourself out of things, then that's the bad thing. I have an example of something that I currently negotiate on all the time.
Okay.
This will probably give you some context into what I'm talking about. And it really has to do with my faith. Okay, so for whatever reason, just being transparent here, I believe that I am supposed to take my ass to church and start becoming a little bit more faith involved and faith based. I do a lot of personal development on my own, but I've had this calling that I really should get into the church, right? So I have that constant thought, but then I self-negotiate with myself and say, well, if I actually go to church, for whatever reason, I believe that my fun is going to be taken away from me. And it's a really weird thought. For example, I like to sip a little bourbon when I smoke a cigar, I like to have a little whiskey. I have this weird thought on my mind that I'm going to step into church and all the fun is basically going to stop in my life. So I constantly negotiate and talk myself out of it to say, well, you know what? I'll do it like a little bit more in the future.
You drink wine in church. I don't understand that thought process.
You drink wine in church. That's true. But I don't know what it is. But in terms of fun, right? Because
What, do you think you're going to feel guilty about drinking and smoking cigars?
not really the cigar smoking, not really the drinking on a casual level, but for whatever reason, I'm an all-in type of guy, right? So we speak about alignment here on the podcast a lot. Like, does going out to Mohegan Sun and gambling once in a while, then ending up in the club, really align with then waking up and going to church?
Why not? If you're a good person while you're doing it.
I need to I know, but I need to tell myself that.
Well,
but I'm just telling you what I negotiate,
Yeah.
and that's the picture that I create in my own mind. Because it's not reality. It's not.
I think that's Mohegan Sun's tagline, like where Christians come or something. Like that. Where Christians
Where
come to let
Christians
loose.
come.
Where to get closer to Jesus.
right.
But I
ahead.
have it's simplistic and it's probably wrong, but my view is like if you do believe in that, then ultimately the real personification of the belief is being a good person. No, just in general.
Yeah, and for whatever reason,
but
I know
going to Mohegan Sun doesn't make you a bad person.
no, but like, does gambling kind of align with that lifestyle? Again, does the club once in a while align with that type of lifestyle? I don't know, and I know that it's true and it can be done.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I'm just telling you, this is how I negotiate myself out.
Yeah.
Of just going. There's a church right on the corner by my house. Ever since I moved there, I've had this.
But you listen to Joel, right?
I do.
So it's
I
like,
do. I know.
Are you talking to Joel and be like, Joel, I went to Mohegan. Joel's probably at Mohegan
I wish.
doing a performance.
I wish.
I think
silly.
sometimes you're too black and white with things.
CV says that too sometimes.
My
he
guy.
tells me I'm a black
You
and
gotta
white
start listening to us.
type of guy.
Enough of us listening to you.
But I think the ultimate goal though is to basically stop negotiating with yourself and then to build habits that become non-negotiable systems.
Yeah.
Right? And
In theory.
negotiable systems are much non-negotiable systems are much different than habits. Because a habit can be developed over time, but a non-negotiable system is a little bit more strict, a little bit more stringent and disciplined. And I think that way is, for me, the way that I need to, I need to be. And I think for the most part, for most aspects of my life, I do this and I don't really negotiate with myself when there's things that I need to do. But that was just an example of something, that I constantly think about. But I want to definitely talk about how to remove the self-negotiation from the process, how to set boundaries and abide by those boundaries. Obviously, it's not a perfect world, so there's always going to be times of emergency. And then I think that you have to have some key rules in place. And, I'll talk about some tactics that I implement in my own life when it comes to self-negotiation. What do you think so far?
I'm thinking how I self-negotiate constantly, and I, in theory, do put up a lot of boundaries and rules and regulations, but a lot of the times, at least in the past 3 years, have had to basically back down on a lot of them because in reality, in practice, it wasn't possible. And I've been a little more lenient with myself not to get discouraged because of that. Mm-hmm. For example, I would not go outside the borders of Greenwich to sell real estate. It's something I talk about constantly, something I try to put out into the universe so that I can implement it. And since I've went to my new company, stuff that I can't control, as far as like the market being super tight, has priced out a lot of my clients so that they're looking past where typically I look with them. And in the beginning, I was like, yeah, I can't really travel, this and that, and I'd pass them along. And then I started to realize, like, at this point in my career, I can't be as selective because the reality is I'm just passing all my clients away and I'm going to go out of business. So you need to open up your borders again, get a little humble pie and go be productive in other markets. And then when you're too busy, then it's time to recalibrate. Mm-hmm. I was taking already established habits into an unestablished company.
Ooh.
And trying to match them, and it just wasn't working. Mm-hmm. So that was something where I didn't negotiate with myself for a long time, but then I really had to think it through and say, you know what, in this case, it makes sense and it's not forever. So for now, this is what we do. You're opening up your borders, and it's been productive since I've done that.
I think that's a great form of negotiation, to be honest with you.
But then, like with the kids, right? Like I work out at 4 a.m. Mm-hmm. That's my thing. I work out at 4 a.m. Reality is they don't get to bed till 11. They wake up at 2, 3. Yep. At a certain point, it's unproductive. Yep. And it's like, yeah, I can get up at 4, but I'm a zombie. The workout sucks. Mm-hmm. I'm miserable the rest of the day. I put an extra strain on Dana because then I'm not jumping in to help.
Yep.
So like it's been frustrating because I had a beautiful routine. I had a productivity going, and then the life circumstance basically blew it out of the water. Mm. So now it's not so much a renegotiation of systems. It's more of a reestablishment, a renegotiation of like, all right, well, if I can't do all of this, I need 10,000 steps. If I can't do all this, I could still eat healthy. Mm-hmm. If I can't work out, I could still be on my diet. So it's a new, simpler, to then build a simpler foundation with the new lifestyle to build off of.
Yeah, I love that.
And I've said it week after week. At some point, this is going to get easier as far as a routine. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's ever going to be a steady routine, but the kids are hopefully going to sleep a little longer. Hopefully.
Yeah, they will.
Maybe 5 years.
Absolutely.
So,
so you jumped a little ahead, which is fine. I like that because I think that those are all forms of
positive.
Good negotiation tactics.
Negative, I would say sometimes I'm like, oh, I haven't slept. I'm not working today. I'm just gonna get just a little taste of a beef patty.
There you go. Right? The three that I kind of came up with, and this happens a lot. That donut looks great. I'm gonna eat it and then work out for 30 more minutes.
Oh, 30 minutes. Right? I add an extra
but that's
steps.
a bad form of negotiation.
I go, that donut looks good. I'm just gonna walk while I eat it.
This one happens to me too. I really should read right now, but instead I'm gonna throw on a episode of Narcos because I worked hard today, right? And then the third one, I wanted to call my mom to do a weekly check-in, but I really don't have much to say. I'm in a pretty bad mood, so I'm not gonna do it.
That's a good one. So my negotiation has been pushing things to the next day.
Okay.
Which I've gotten much better at. Mm-hmm. But there's certain times where I'm like, I'm tired. I don't really want to make the call. I'll call them in the morning.
Yep.
And then the next day it gets harder to make that call.
Right.
Because you should have called yesterday. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it gets pushed to the next day.
Yes.
That's the biggest negotiation for me lately.
So when it comes to the negative negotiations with yourself, there's something in all of those examples that show that it's negative. And the reason is that they allow room for an excuse to be used as the negotiation. Right? Now, I think there's a difference between an excuse and a reason,
Okay.
right? An excuse to me would be more of a mental barrier that we place blame on for not completing the things that we set out to do. The mental barrier, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a reason is a physical prevention of an outside circumstance that then doesn't allow you to move forward,
Yeah.
right? So a big difference. Excuse is mental, and then a reason is like a physical prevention. I think that reasons are actually acceptable for not doing something because that's not related to the mental willpower. Whereas I believe excuses are strictly mental willpower.
Could you argue, though, you could find a reason to do something if there's a reason you can't do it?
You can, but now you're finding reasons, right? Like a reason in general is a physical prevention. You're driving to work, right? Now there's physically traffic in place, so that prevents you from getting to where you want to go. An excuse would be like, well, it's 8:45, I'm running a little late anyway, I might as well just miss the meeting. Right? So there's definitely a difference there. I think excuses are emotionally driven. And if you are somebody that makes excuses, the typical, I'll do it later. If you tell yourself, oh, I'll do it in 5 more minutes. Let me just watch one more show. There's terminology, I think, in our head that we use that you can really see. Are you somebody who makes excuses for yourself? Or when you can't get something accomplished, is it a legitimate reason? And that's a big separator. And I don't think we've ever really discussed the difference between the two. But it's a good thing to think about. And what was another one? Oh, if I do this now, this is a good negotiation. I do this too. If I do this now, then I'll do that later, right? Like if I eat this, if I eat this healthy meal now,
I'll have a salad
right?
later.
I'll go have the ice cream later. You know what I'm saying?
Kinda
Right,
nice.
right. Very. It's relatable. For sure.
But I do like the thought of at least not justifying, but giving yourself a rule, like
Mhm.
if I have this whatever cookie, then I need to make sure that I crush my workout about like,
Yep.
Sometimes I think it helps.
Absolutely.
Obviously, if you do it too much, it's counterproductive.
Let's talk about systems though, right? Systems are basically processes that allow us to achieve a maximum result versus a habit. You can have a positive habit, but when it's a system, again, it's much more strict. It's a little bit more, what's a good word? Discipline. And it proves for me to actually work best, right? When I focus on systems. Now there's ways to add new systems, and we've definitely discussed this before. And it's called coupling, right? So there was a book I read back in the day, and it was called Better Than Before. I don't know why I didn't write that down. And they call this tactic piggybacking your habit, right? So I've actually done this multiple times when for water. I remember piggybacking my habit when I brushed my teeth, right? So I would brush my teeth, and instead of just putting my toothbrush back, I would actually drink my water right before I brushed my teeth. Okay. Right? So I'm drinking my water and then I'm brushing my teeth. So that's just an example of piggybacking and coupling. Before you know it, you do that days in a row, it becomes an attachment to basically, well, I don't do one, or I feel funny doing one without the other. Right? So it's a very effective strategy. I do it actually in the gym too. I wanted to do more jump rope. Right? So I just said, you know what? I'm going to couple it with already working out. So instead of me sitting there and just walking around and pacing, I'm going to either do push-ups or jump rope in between. I've noticed that another great time to start to transition new systems is actually with extreme change. And this is different because when you're already in a place of some change, so whether you got a new job, whether you have to work a new shift, whether you have kids, whether something happens in your life, it's actually a good time to add to your routine because you're already thrown off of your old habits. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
No?
I don't know if I agree.
Why not?
Because when you're kind of in that survival mode, it's hard to implement anything new, at least for me.
Okay. Well, I'll give you an example. So with my mom's journey, that was an extreme change in life, right? So it forced my brother, sister, and I to be extremely grateful for family time. So what we've done is we have come together to say, listen, this was a really big change in our lives. We want to spend more time together. You know what? Once a month, once every 3 weeks, we're going to have Sunday dinner together. So because there was change in our life, we added a new
Gave you an
system.
opportunity to-
It gives you an opportunity to do new things, right?
Yeah.
So if you switch jobs, couple it with a new system of, if you want to get fit, okay, before you go to that new job, you have to work out, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an example of what I was talking about.
I find, at least for me, the on that topic, like if you go on Instagram and you try to change your name, if it's too far from your current name, they won't let you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me kind of think about habits. Like, I have an air fryer, right? If I want to change how I cook something, it's almost better to say, well, I'm going to go from air fryer to a different style of air fryer, but keep the general gist of it, right? Instead of 2 bays, I have 1 bay now, which I think is more efficient.
Very good.
So like your changes aren't like so drastic
too
where you
drastic,
throw
right.
everything off.
Yep.
You still know that you cook it for 22 minutes, the chicken thighs, at 390. You flip them a lot of the things that are learned and already established run with the new addition or the change
Right.
or the adjustment.
Right.
This isn't a simple example, but like, for example, I used to meal prep. I used to do my rice and I'd portion out ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
What I found, which was a lot more easy, is just to have big tub of rice, big thing of chicken. You just measure it out as you go. It's the same. I mean, it's quick. It's
And
literally
it actually is space saver.
yeah, space
For
saver.
sure.
It's less dishes. It's easy.
Mhm.
You just throw it in. You can look and say, I have a certain amount of rice. You can mix and match proteins with carbs. The fry cutter. Originally, I was cutting
a lot
the fries.
less dishes too.
Yeah, originally I was cutting the fries by hand. Now I have just the thing I pop out the fry cutter. I added a thinner fry attachment. So like for me, I found that not going too crazy
Mm-hmm.
out of what you're already doing has been productive, and just keeping it simple. Every time I overcomplicate it, I find myself not executing. And then when I come back to like, well, I'll just have chicken with hot sauce and rice on the side, and maybe I'll throw in some like lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you just keep it like that, it's so much easier versus I'm going to try a new recipe tonight. And then you go off the rails because you got these new ingredients.
Yep.
And that looks good. I wonder what that's like on a sandwich,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, even in business,
it's boring though.
I've done this too. Yeah, but I mean, when just want to give another example of the change, right? When change happens in your life, when I first, was appointed deputy, I knew that I needed to do something to develop my own leadership skills. So I coupled the new job with a new system of the one-on-ones that I speak about, right? And I said, well, you know what? I'm already taking this new role and I want to get better in leadership. So me meeting with each staff member on my entire team once a month for 30 minutes is a great way to piggyback on top of what I'm, what I kind of already want. When Callie was born, I actually recommitted to reading every single day because there was times that I would go like, a week and maybe I'm not picking up the book. But when she was born, that was a big change in our lives, right? And I said, you know what? The best way to lead is actually by example. So not only am I going to read her books, but she's also going to see me read in the morning as well, right? So there were things that I was thinking about that definitely work in terms of change. But to your point, it doesn't have to be extreme change, right? If something is already transforming in your life, find a little thing and a little system that you can kind of add to it to make it a better experience for yourself.
And you really don't, it's like with weight loss or just like, when you do any type of job that's delayed gratification, you don't really see the results. And then one day you're like, holy, I came a long way when you look back. We've talked about the diet on the show ad nauseum, and obviously I've had a lot of help to get here. But just even the fact that now I go into a grocery store and I buy a thing of chicken thighs, ground meat, I have a huge bag of rice and potatoes versus I used to buy whatever. I used to get all the chips and the pretzels and all this and that. And I was just tempting myself to cheat on the diet while I was at the house. But even looking back, I'm like, wow, I'm eating all whole foods. And now the protein shakes are a complement to the food. So the coupling aspect, I think, is really interesting too, because what I have been doing lately is everything is all intertwined. So when I make my lunch, and it's very quick because I'm reheating chicken for 5 minutes and I microwave rice for like 6-9 seconds. So maybe it's 5 minutes.
69 seconds?
69 seconds.
Where did that come from?
Just a
Sorry,
habit.
but
I don't know.
where did
70
it
was
come
too
from?
much.
Wow.
60 was too short. So I was like, you know what?
You put it in the
69.
microwave for 69 seconds?
Isn't that funny?
Or do you put like a minute 9?
69 seconds. I hit 69.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Does that work?
It does.
What?
Anyway,
Really? I gotta test
The
that.
wrong
theory.
part of the topic.
Sorry, I got hooked on that.
I just said it randomly, but that's what I do.
But okay. Obviously, you do
So
it because that was very
I
random.
literally have it to the point where I have the chicken in like one of those tall restaurant containers.
Okay.
I cube it up. I either put hot sauce or teriyaki. I throw in the air fryer for 5 minutes. Because I mixed it in that bowl, then I put the rice on top of that. It's a sugar-free sauce, either hot sauce or sugar-free teriyaki. I put the rice on top of that, so it gets a little sauce on the bottom.
Okay.
And gets a nice little caramelization.
Sauce boss, if you will.
69 seconds, pull it out, tongs it in, and then maybe a little more sauce on top. And then I'll get my phone and I'll put on something entertaining while I eat. So it gives me like a break in the action, a mental break.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm done eating that, I just get back to it.
Mm.
So it's a quicker, maybe 10-minute lunch versus I used to just skip lunch, work straight through.
Yep.
I would get like antsy anxiety because I hadn't eaten all day. And I thought that was the best. But now I have this kind of routine where I work from home now full time.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm out showing and whatnot, I obviously push it back or do it before.
Yep.
But it's one less thing to worry about.
I like that. Besides the 69 seconds, I still got to test
pretty
that.
weird, yeah.
I got to test that theory. I think the concept of negotiating with yourself has a lot to do with accountability as well. I think people struggle when their behavior, and this is me too for sure, on things that I don't accomplish. When your behavior doesn't necessarily align with the goal of what you want, right? Like the action in itself is not in the thinking. So just because you think a certain way doesn't mean you are, right? So if you want to be a writer, you have to write. If you want to be a yoga instructor, you have to practice yoga.
You have to yoga.
And you want to be a yogi, you have to do yoga. But a lot of us in life, we want certain things in our heads, but we really don't implement the action behind it.
Do you think you have a bottleneck for me
Mm-hmm.
on getting a bunch of stuff done and not negotiating myself later at night is my lack of stamina as being tired, right?
Well, that could be a legitimate one.
So that it's either I drink a coffee at 8:30 at night, which I've done a bunch, and I get that extra burst, but then it F's up my sleep, and then I can't wake up to work out a lot of the time because I get to bed at midnight, 1 a.m., whatever it is, 12:30. So I'm at this weird place where I'm exhausted, and I'm like, I could finish this tonight, but I'm so tired. And then I'll kind of pack it in. So for me, it's been like stamina of mental focus.
Okay.
You know, the later it gets at night after putting the kids to bed, after doing all this stuff, after all day of talking to people on the phone, showing properties, social media, all of it. Like when 9 o'clock runs around, I go back up to the office to kind of finish my nighttime stuff. There's that 10 to 10:30 where I can really knock out a bunch of stuff for the following day, where sometimes I'll just put down the computer and walk away because I'm just not there. So for me, it's been like that mental strength of being focused even when you're tired. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like for a fighter, it's the championship rounds for me right now where I'm gassing out and I'm getting knocked out by my bad habits.
Right. But is there a way that you can prioritize the tasks and maybe the time where you're doing tasks and you're tired? Like maybe you can't stay up for 2 hours, but if you say to yourself, well, you know what, I could do 2 tasks and I only have to be up for 40 extra minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a way that you can stop negotiating.
Yeah,
you know?
kind of like giving my mindless stuff for the end of the night where it's just like
exactly.
I
And
just gotta do it.
I was just going to say switching the order or the priority level of what needs to be done.
All day is the priority is like the eating the frog, like the hardest stuff, the more mentally taxing is early in the day. But the reality is I don't have a lot of time to just sit down and work on pricing reports and all that stuff.
Right.
So that naturally comes at the end of the day.
Yep.
Because I can do it during the middle of the day, but it's very hard because I'm out showing properties. There's a lot of, urgency during the day versus I used to knock them out early in the morning. So not having that 4 to 9, sometimes I would just skip working out and do all my pricing reports right in the morning.
Right.
So
I'm
still figuring it out.
No,
But
of course,
I guess my real question is, do you have any like bottleneck of like, if I could figure this out, it'll exponentially increase kind of my efficiency or output or?
I think for me, it was the financial one. Like I was bottlenecked for sure because, I've been very open about, putting myself in a position to be able to make the next significant investment in my life. I wanted that, but I was bottlenecking myself mentally because I'm like, well, you work really hard. You deserve to spend money on the things that you want to spend money on. The interest rates are really high. Whereas I kind of shifted that and I said, you know what? I need to stop negotiating it and at least find a way to put myself in the position to do it. Right. So now that I've been able to do that and have the financial backing available, doesn't mean that I have to do it right away. But I shifted my thinking from like, all the negative thoughts to say, okay, well, now that you found a way, now maybe you can, go have some fun.
Which I think is a good way to look at it. I think to bring it full circle, I think it's healthy to identify what makes you happiest and focus your money and efforts in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that like by just getting random groceries doesn't make me very happy. But a night out at a nice restaurant does.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like if I'm going to splurge at any point, it's going to be for stuff that I actually enjoy versus kind of mediocre stuff that's mindless.
Right.
Right. It's like the calorie talk we talked about.
I actually asked the individual that wrote in, I said, can you give me an example of how you personally negotiate with yourself? And the individual said, well, it has to do with working out. And I said, well, of course, that's, probably the biggest one in people's lives. But I said, well, what is it with working out? Well, I travel a lot for work. I get on a really good streak, but then I travel, I'm taken out of my routine. And then because I'm traveling, I end up justifying and 3 days go by while I'm there and I don't work out. So I said, okay, well, we have to shift the actual thinking of that, because if you know ahead of time that you're already going to be traveling, why aren't you pre-preparing even a 20-minute hotel workout?
Yeah, like a new routine.
Right.
Yeah.
And I could see that, though, because I don't know if this happens to you, but I have a personal rule against this on vacation. So the first thing that I have to do in the morning is work out, because I know right after my workout, I'm eating like crap and I am drinking all day long.
Yeah.
So if I don't do it first thing in the morning, I'm not doing it. But I have seen and even felt myself, you justify, you're like, well, I'm on vacation. You worked so hard all year. Like, there's no need to work out, right? So I think it's important to identify what throws you off course, right? That's an example of somebody being thrown off course. What has happened in the past that really stops you from, achieving any goal? And I think we have to ask ourselves these questions to really find out what it is that's bottlenecking you, in every aspect. There's a work hack that I have that comes to negotiation for sure. You have to practice ignoring external urgency. This one's tough because for me, external urgency means somebody comes to me, Dave, I need this done right now. Now, of course, if this is my boss that needs a deadline done, even as a favor or something like that, there's certain circumstances that you can't get away from, right? But what I've started to notice when I got into the role, everybody, rightfully so, they have their own urgencies.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the middle of a task that I need to get done, that would be a huge cause for me to end up negotiating with myself and stop my task to assist you in your urgent matter. Whereas now I really practice like, hey, listen, is this, really that urgent? Can I finish this and then get back to you? 99% of the time, it's like, oh yeah, no problem. Whereas before, I was trying to be the people pleaser, and just attack everybody else's problems before I finished my own tasks.
I like that terminology. So that's the biggest thing I struggle with. And the biggest thing I've struggled with since having the kids is not having the time prior and having the time after exhausted when I get a lot done. So 9 to 5 is for external urgencies. And then anything.
Your industry's crazy with that.
Crazy.
Because everybody's urgent.
Like
documents
last week,
need to be turned in. People need to sign stuff.
Offers, highest and best. Like you're constantly shifting the schedule around based on priority, and your business is make or break if you waste time on the wrong things. So what I had going was before 9 o'clock and after say 8 o'clock at night was my time to work on the business, things I needed to get done, catch up on paperwork, me stuff. And then 9 to 5 was like previewing properties, showing properties, offers, negotiations, all that other stuff. And it didn't work perfectly, but I definitely felt like if I was working out at 9 a.m. to 10 now, people call me, text me. Yes, there are things that I'm like, all right, I got to put everything down and go do this because time is of the essence, especially in a market like this. So that's, I mean, a good way to put it. And I think 99% of my struggle is that.
Yeah.
And I think
External
most
urgency.
real estate brokers,
Right.
agents,
Of
whatever,
course.
that's all.
Yeah, that's a tough industry for sure. Just even in sales in general, because you need to get the job done as quick as possible, and it's always based on somebody else's needs.
And if you think about it, the chances of you getting a workout done after 9 a.m. infinitely less than getting it knocked out at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., whatever it is. I did have a couple clients who used to text me at 5 a.m. because they were working out in the morning too.
Yep.
And I would respond to them because it was just one person. It was more of like, hey, I'll talk to you later, but yes, we're in control, whatever it is. So that's been frustrating.
Yep.
Because I know the equation. I just can't do it now, but I know that, like, I've tried to wake up at 4 a.m. all week. I haven't woken up once in 5 days at 4 a.m., but I have my alarm set every day. And I'm just so stubborn because I'm like, I'm not giving in to not being able to wake up. It's just an extreme circumstance now.
Right. And that's okay, though. That's, again, I think,
but it's so
temporary
frustrating.
season.
You
yeah,
say
of
it's
course.
okay, but like it drives you mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, one day, I mean, you feel like your whole life is over. So imagine stringing 3 and 4 bad ones together. It's horrible.
And it's not a bad day. It's just I'm not doing what I want to do.
Right.
And I know it works and I know it's productive. And I know when I get that pre-workout in my system early, I'm very productive.
Right. I got you. There's a couple things that we've discussed on this podcast before, but I think if you struggle with negotiating with yourself, the calendar is an extremely helpful tool. Some personal rules that you can create within the calendar is if it's on the calendar, it's happening, right? So if you struggle with working out, put it on your actual calendar. Every morning, a set time, you do it. Now make rules with yourself. There's no last minute changes, right? You can't just change something that's on your calendar. You wouldn't cancel a meeting on somebody unless it's an extreme circumstance, right? But for whatever reason, if it's on the calendar just for yourself, probably 99% of us don't do this. But if it's on the calendar for ourselves, we should treat it the same way as if it was an external appointment with somebody else.
I did it with the dentist. And then I had to go to the dentist yesterday and it was way worse.
It was bad.
It was bad. And then I have to go back and I'm getting whacked for extra money because they were like, you're not in great shape. We got to get you a special mouthwash because your gums are, it's hereditary. You definitely have issues with your gums, but you're not helping it because you got to floss more. And I was like, I know. So
no, and even with the calendar too, like if your schedule is going to change the same way that you'd respect somebody and cancel on them, give yourself 24-hour notice.
Yeah.
Right. And then shift that appointment 24 hours later. But you have to do that. And it's a tough skill.
It's hard when you live that way. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I've had a couple recent appointments where I've moved stuff around to make it happen. And then people cancel while I get there. And I'm like, I'm not asking, just let me know ahead of time. And I felt myself getting pissed off. And I was like, you know what? It is what it is. It's hard to be lenient with everyone when you have to be strict with yourself. It's really hard.
Speaking on leniency, for the most part, I have a very strict rule of preparing my meals and making sure that I eat them so I don't throw them out at the end of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's frustrating, right? But within these strict discipline systems, you do have to learn how to be a little lenient with yourself. So one thing that I've come up with is, like Mike, I like to eat. Now, if I go out to dinner to an actual restaurant,
black coffee.
No, that's what I won't do.
Yeah.
I make the exception within my system to say, you know what? You're at a restaurant, enjoy it. I don't worry about the diet. Regardless, I'm not eating anything that's crazy anyway, because if I go to a restaurant, I might just get a steak anyway.
I was going to say, I actually like steaks. I like fish. I like the good stuff. I'm not a huge pasta guy.
Yep.
I guess pizza is maybe our Achilles heel together.
Yep. Another personal rule of mine that I've just kind of adopted is no matter what, I clean the house on Sundays. I do my laundry on Sundays. I meal prep on Sunday. Doesn't matter if I'm in the casino until 2 a.m. Right, and I say that because I was actually at Mohegan. Won some money, by the way. Thank you very much.
So for us, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, whatever it is
Dana's
for you, it works.
home on Friday, so she always cleans. And then Wednesday, Thursday, the in-laws take the kids.
That's awesome.
So I know I got to get organized and like do laundry and do all that stuff because no one's in the house. And if I have to stay up late and because I know nothing's getting me up in the middle of the night, like that's the night where I can get.
Right.
So the hard thing is it's so uncommon.
Yes.
So it's like my Wednesdays are like my Saturdays for people. You know?
Yep. And then the financial one, So, you guys have heard me negotiate my my coffee deals into Lexus, right?
Yeah.
Which, I still bang them over the head for that. But there's something to be said, because I didn't want to spend all the money at Starbucks every day. But I look forward to actually buying my Starbucks the way that I want to buy it. It might be a $5 drink, a $6 drink on Wednesdays, or whichever day we're recording a podcast, right? Because I couple that and I say, well, you know what? The podcast is an enjoyment factor for me. So, you know what? I'm okay spending and splurging on coffee.
You know what my trick would be?
What?
Which I've done.
What?
If there is an element to going out and getting a coffee somewhere that just tastes better.
Yes, it definitely does.
Right? It tastes way better.
100%. But the Lexus coffee is really good. It's a Starbucks machine.
That's really good.
Oh, man. And they got a new one.
What I would do is, like, if Dana went out and got coffee and I said, no, I'm good, and she has the cup, I'll fill it in with my Dunkin' from home.
But at least you have the cup.
Correct.
I like that.
And it makes me feel like I'm big time.
I do that in meetings.
Do you do that?
So this will be empty.
Well, I'm a Dunkin' guy, so.
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
Yeah.
It's water, dirty water. Duncan, if you're on a sponsorship, we don't want it. Thank you.
I would love a
No,
Dunkin'
no,
sponsorship.
F that. Go
Mike
sponsor
runs
Mike
on
Corelli,
Dunkin'.
Greenwich Real Estate.
Although I've been trying to put him out of business locally.
I do the same thing, though. In a meeting, it just makes, I don't know, it gives me a little bit more confidence. If I make a Keurig and it's in a Starbucks cup, I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about that. You're absolutely right.
And
very odd.
So I believe, and I don't know if you agree with this, there's a reason, how do I put this? When you are watching your pennies and being very on budget and if you can align everything else with that, it helps, because you know what's really expensive?
What?
Junk at the grocery store. Junk is very expensive.
What do you mean by junk?
Chips, pretzel, like cookie. Like, you ever look at those prices now? It's like $8 for a bag of like cookies or whatever.
Oh wow!
Like,
well, Oreos went up to $6.99, man.
I got to
That's
get
tough.
like mini muffins for Livy, and I'm hesitant to get them because I'm like $5
Generic
for
brand, bro.
Well, I tried. Believe me, I tried. She knows.
She's like, I don't want this.
But point being, like, ground beef,
Yep.
it's not that expensive. Flank steak, like, I'm not going T-bone, but a flank is a lot of protein. So by having to get back into the roots of watching the money and being really like efficient and low overhead, it's forced me to come back to the simplicity of the diet, because I'm not getting sauces are like $8.
Yes.
So I know the couple sauces I need to get, and the restriction I actually like, and not wasting food, like you're saying.
Yep.
Sometimes from just not wanting to throw the food out because I know how much I paid for it, makes me not cheat on the diet, because I'm like, I don't want to eat that because I have this to eat. And I don't want to waste it. And it's $6. This is a $6 meal,
Yep. I want to come full circle back to what Mike was talking about earlier in the episode. And I think when you're trying to avoid the negotiation tactics in a negative way, you have to turn that positive and learn how to have conversations with yourself after the negative thought pops up. So I'll go back to the donut example, where
you're really trying to mess me up.
Yeah. But instead of giving into the thought of, that donut looks really good, you could say, yeah, that donut looks great, but I already prepared my chicken salad. So I know that if I eat this healthy meal, that's automatically going to correlate to better energy, healthy food, healthy energy. I'm going to get this workout in. I'm going to finish my week strong. And then on Sunday morning, I'm going to enjoy that donut. But you have to learn how to talk yourself through the actual negative thought.
You know what mine is? My negotiation is, I think if you could be a diva with food and really picky, it helps you. So rather than say, oh yeah, I'm going to like grab a couple of cheese doodles, which I'm guilty of, because have you had a cheese doodle lately?
Cheese doodle? No. They're not big. I'm not big on those.
You don't like Cheez-Its or anything?
Cheez-Its are pretty good.
Dude.
But I would never buy those.
That's the problem with kids, is like Dana gets the stuff for her, and then I'm like, Cheez-Its are pretty good. Like, I haven't had Cheez-It, and then you have one, you're like, this is like crap. So, and Dana looks incredible, and she just snacks on this stuff, and I'm like, it gets me so mad, because I'm like, I'm looking at the box, I'm getting bigger. But being a diva about it and be like, I'm not wasting calories on a Cheez-It. That donut from Dunkin' Donuts, like, it's probably terrible. Like, I'm gonna go get a nice donut from like a craft shop. Yeah, it's gonna be $12, but I'm not wasting calories on this shit. You know?
Okay, all right. So be a diva,
right?
I like that. Yep.
Even like I drive by McDonald's or whatever, like, this tastes like shit. Like, I'm gonna get a nice burger, like, and then it's harder to get that.
Yep.
So it's likely you don't even go and do it, right?
Yep. I just had this conversation with myself. Instead of me saying, I don't want to call mom, because this was a real example, because I had a rough week, shit was going on in my own life, and I'm like, I don't want to be a drag to somebody else when, you know, I'm trying to just better my relationships with certain people, right? So I really talked myself through it, and I said, well, I made a commitment, and it doesn't even matter if I jump on the call for just 2 minutes. I can ask her 2 questions. How was your week? What are you doing on the weekend, right? And you kind of see what happens throughout the conversation. But the worst case scenario is, you know what? I still stuck to my commitment, called my mom, and yeah, we had a 2 to 5 minute conversation, right? But it's very easy to get caught in the negative thought and then not take that conversation further with yourself. And I think that's big. You know, having the ability to really do that and work yourself through that.
I've been trying to focus more outward lately. Where less
What do you
about
mean?
me, like when I talk to people,
Mhm.
I'm trying to just ask more about them and honestly be like, what's going on with you? And less talk about me, because I've found when I fester and stuff and I reiterate it, it gets worse versus just like, it is what it is. It's whatever. It's over. Right?
Yeah. For whatever reason, that thought just came back to money. I don't know why.
What do you mean?
Popped in my head. Like the concept of money buying happiness. Money absolutely buys happiness. 100%. Externally, right?
Depends how you use it, though.
If you have ever been in a place, and listen to this, if you have ever been in a place where you've given $100, because I actually won some money, gave $100 to a homeless man. My man was ecstatic.
Yeah.
Because of that money.
Yeah.
My money bought his happiness, right? I donate to Crohn's and Colitis Foundation every single month. And the written hand letters that I get from the individuals who receive a level of the donation is incredible for me, right? So the concept of money buying happiness is not personal happiness, it's externally.
Yeah, and just like, and on a base, yes, that's a form of it, but like on a base level, just kind of seeing what's going on with people and like listen to them.
Yep.
You hear that they have a lot of shit going on, so you don't feel as like alone, right? You know, whether that's a partner or a good friend, like just catching up with them and hearing what they got going on kind of snaps you out of like it's all about me type thing,
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of time when you get down on yourself, you just think about yourself, like, oh, I'm fuck, like I had a rough day or the kids are sick, and it's just me, versus like, what you got going on? And then, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, and then you get a little inspired. Like people inspire me when I talk to them and they're doing cool stuff.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially if they have things that they're working through also and they voice that, you know? Like when now the simple thing of someone like Nick Barr is a guy that I follow. He just had a daughter. He came out and basically explained how he completely had to change his whole lifestyle and basically hired a CEO for his company because he could no longer neglect his kid and wife. And the things that worked before didn't work now. And it was hard for him to make that adjustment because he was go, go, go. And I found myself listening to him be like, he's really explaining kind of my guilt that I felt in the beginning of Livy, where I just try to keep doing the same stuff when it didn't fit into the new lifestyle. And then when you make that adjustment, you think, I gave up. But in reality, you're just kind of like changing and reworking it. So it was helpful for me to listen to someone else who's done it and feel like, oh, maybe I'm not on the wrong track because I'm getting another perspective of someone that might not voice it. You see them crushing it. But then when they voice like their adjustment they had to make, you're like, oh, this guy went through the same thing and he looks like a machine. He's like the Terminator. And obviously he kept the 9%. But I like hearing what other people are going through because it makes you feel less alone as far as your problems.
Right. I guess this will really be full circle back to that podcast that I recommended with.
We're doing like 680s because
I know we're just full circle,
69
full circle. Do you guys know what would be your guess? Right, on this study that was done of over 800 people in terms of happiness, they were all over 80 years old when they finished this study. Right, they asked them all, "What is the number one regret of your entire life?" What would your guess be?
Working too hard.
Working too hard. That's a very good one and very close. CV, what would you say? Working too much.
Hey, dude.
But
you
literally,
can't copy my answer.
Well,
they literally copied it.
That's the answer, though.
What? That's the same thing.
You said working too hard.
That's the same thing.
He said working too much. So the number one regret of every single one of these individuals
that's in review
was spending too much time. You're both right. Spending too much time at work and not enough time with their families. And a lot of them had, serious illnesses at this time. And this is a commitment that I actually made to myself years ago. All through my 20s, I worked 6-7 days a week. Even recently, just had a really, really good opportunity that was hard for me to pass up. Right, there's an opportunity for me to instruct some boot camps with some nice money, cash, couple $100 for just 2 boot camps.
Weird. I never got the request.
Which is really nice, and at some point I might still do it because I do enjoy that. But I made a commitment to stop working weekends so I can invest time into my family, my needs. Now, of course, my job is a little public, so I'd say 3 out of the 4 weekends at some level I'm at an event. I give a little hello, I go shake hands and mingle, and then I'm out of there.
Yeah.
But that comes with the job. But that was very interesting to hear. And it's funny that we all know that, and then we will still go grind for, 17 hours in a day. And it's fine if you're doing it temporarily, right? But it becomes a problem when you're doing it decade after decade after decade. Then before we know it, we're 50, we're 60, we're 70, we're 80. It's a good thing that we're going to start living until we're 120. You heard it here first on this podcast.
You just gotta, if you are working hard, you just have to make it worth it. Yeah. And you gotta apply to things that actually matter. Mm-hmm. So relationships, even that, for me, it's gonna be hosting like events for family and friends, using that money to like, not to go crazy, but like, yeah, you get a bunch of steaks, people don't care, they show up, everything's taken care of, you go out to dinner, everything's taken care of. Like that stuff for me is what I would work hard for. Like when the kids want to do something, you're able to give them the full experience. Not to say that it doesn't come down to just who you're with and you can figure it out. Like you don't need to go crazy, but we have one time through. So why not experience some cool stuff? That's my thought.
Wow. And then this also brought me that just brought me to another very important thing. You guys don't have to listen to this other podcast because I'm giving you all the gold in it, right? But here's another interesting thing when it comes to money.
We should just summarize other people's podcasts. Oh wait,
but it really hit for me because I've been through this exact scenario. So they measured a level of fulfillment, and again, the guy Waldinger, he's the head of adult development at Harvard, right? So this is what he does on a full-time level over decades now. They measured the happiness of finances, right? And there was a minuscule difference between somebody who made 75 million and basic needs being met. So the individuals that they identified below $75,000 a year, as soon as they got to the 75,000, they pretty much reached the same level of happiness because their basic needs were met versus the person who was making 75 million. Yeah. And it was a little bit of an increase, but on a scale, it was very minuscule. But that person who made 40,000 that then finally jumped to 75,000 to have their basic needs met, that number was significant.
Yep.
And I've been in that exact scenario, and I see the more money that I make personally, I enjoy giving more, right? I enjoy watching other people do nice things. The watch, the cars, the houses are great. It gives you a level of fulfillment, but it's really to benefit other people. Like on a personal level, it really doesn't make me that happy to put a watch on, right? It gives me fulfillment. It gives me fulfillment to a level, but me having one watch, here's the point, me having one really nice watch and me having 3 really nice watches, to get the one was really significant.
Yeah.
But 2 and 3 is not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's definitely shifted for me, at least for just security purposes for the kids.
Right. 100%.
And obviously Dana, but like it used to be for myself and this and that. And now it's shifting to like, I just want them to be comfortable. And then I enjoy what I do. So I'll keep doing it. Mm-hmm. But to have that lack of stress of like, can we get by?
Right.
So keeping that overhead low, getting the monthly nut low as possible so that you can really enjoy a little more of like what life's all about, not just chasing the next dollar.
It's so true.
And being more selective, which then attracts more money, which attracts more growth and more happiness. So I think you're 100% right. It's hard for people who are in the position, which I'm now, the grind of getting to a point of comfort and what you just said for people to understand it. But then once you get above it, not that I've ever been above it, but there's months where you're very comfortable and you get positions in your life where you get comfortable, and that level of less weight on your shoulders must add years to your life, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Problem is sometimes when we're in it, we just keep adding to the overhead, and that level gets raised till you never catch it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Simple.
Yeah, it is. It's so simple.
But so hard.
It's so hard. But even thinking about like on a party level, right? I know so many people, all three of us here in this room, right? We love family. We love friends. But now if we were to throw a party with our closest individuals, look at Latin families. I know a lot of Hispanic Americans who can literally have a ball in a small space. You got some music going. You got some Coronas flowing. And you're around great people. Now take those same people and put them in a ballroom and they're wearing suits and yeah, they're maybe drinking a little finer tequila. There's no difference. The basic needs of being with your friends and family is already met.
That's what
right?
Bar
We
Miguel's
take that for granted. Some of the best parties we've ever had were at the little rental that I used to have with a one speaker and a lot of Coronas, right?
Yeah. I 100% agree with
It's
that.
true. It's very true. But we forget that.
It's the art of hosting
Mm-hmm.
and the art of, if you can cook, this is why I'm starting to cook more. If you can cook a nice meal, you don't need the best ingredients.
Steak and salad, baby.
Not even.
That's it.
Just like you get whatever and you marinate that baby long enough and you plan well, like you could have some meals,
That's true.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, maybe you get a little cheaper beer, but you know how to dice it up a little bit. You throw a little food color in there. You make this certain drink.
buy the Miller Lite and throw it. Oh no, buy the Natty Light keg and throw a Bud Light thing on it.
Sunny
Nobody
Diesels,
knows.
the way you present it.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's in the can, but you throw a little lime in there. You know, like
Okay, all right.
it's all about the experience and just kind of like, I agree with you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, I like the high end stuff. It's great. But some of my best memories are just being with people, casual. No one's worried about finances. The bill coming out. The stress of a bill coming out, especially what you're at, crazy ass, is like nothing I've ever felt.
Yeah, I guess.
The only time that I almost felt it worse was when we were all together and I had both of you going on tacos, and I'm like, we're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
We're in big trouble.
No, so to wrap this up though,
Put a bow on it, David.
you have to, and you don't hear me say this all the time, but you got to learn how to be a little bit gentle and lenient with yourself, right? Because the goal is not to be judgmental of yourself and where you've come up short and your failures, but to really learn from the experience and how to overcome the hurdles that keep you from reaching your ultimate goals.
Well said.
Right? Wow, that was a fucking dime right there. But you have anything to close out on before we go to my favorite section, Dave's Dime of the Week?
The only thing I will say is that I've learned through this whole process of no snooze, starting a company, becoming a father, all these life-changing events, that it's never perfect, and you just got to keep swinging. You got to just keep trying. Just keep changing, keep adjusting, and then some days, some months, it clicks, and you're in a flow, and then you fall out of the flow. It's like anything. You know, life happens. You got to restructure. Something stays, you know, and then you keep rebuilding. But it's all, you just got to keep building. You just got to keep going. That's what I think about day to day now.
It's very good. And it actually aligns
Philosophy.
with kind of what I'm going to say.
Of course it does.
So this will bring us to my favorite section, officially, Dave's Dime of the Week.
Dimes. Maybe some popcorn.
So for those of you who don't know, I have a couple of, my close friends in a group chat that we speak every day. And it's just, via text.
How many times is the word king thrown around in that group chat?
No, today was my brothers.
My
brothers. No kings today. But this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. And yes, this is from the one and only Dave Regina.
Oh, boy. Hold on to your hat.
Life is full of peace stealers. There will always be people and circumstances trying to pull you down. If you're going to live in peace, we have to put up boundaries and not allow everything in. We can't feed on negativity and discouragement and expect to stay positive. Now, I wrote that because I've been struggling with that lately. I have been going through some things on a personal level over the course of, some months now. And I constantly have these negative thoughts that are attempting to steal peace from me. And if you're on YouTube, I'm playing tug of war with myself. So I know I might look a little weird.
Right. If you're listening, that did not sound right.
Just got that. You're horrible. But the truth is, these circumstances should not take away from my peace. So I need to do better and continue to do a great job at separating and creating the boundaries of that negativity and continue to do what I am here to do in a positive way. So that was a very personal thing to me that I wrote to the Kings.
What were the responses? You got it, King. What do they say back?
I could read them. I could read the responses.
Yeah, you don't have to give names. I'm just curious.
So one said,
aren't you curious if you like this dynamic?
Here you go. You couldn't have said that any better. Thank you, King. Peace is peaceful. I love you. And then one said, amen. This is a fact. I need to find more peace. Love you, men. Thank you, my brother.
My brother and Kings, baby. Is that the name of the group? The Kings?
I hate you. I can't stand you.
No, I mean,
Michael, let them know where to shop, please.
NoSnoozeshop.com. This is an old one, but still a goodie.
Yes, it is an oldie but a goodie.
I have to say, I think Uncle Jesse's a big fan on the Dana's side of the family.
I always think
My
of
side as
marinara
well.
sauce when I think of Uncle Jesse. 'Cause
Uncle Jesse.
Jesse Seminara, right? Is his last name?
But I have to give a shout out to Papa Joe.
Okay.
He showed up today, picks up the kids on Wednesday.
Okay.
He had a No Snooze hoodie,
Ooh.
a Mike Pirelli Ranch Real Estate hat,
Oh.
and then he was picking up another No Snooze hoodie from my house that he left.
I don't have a MPGRE
I know, I gotta get you.
hat. Can I have one?
Times are tight right here.
Can I have one?
I'll send you the bill.
I'll pay for it.
No, I got you. I got a couple if you want.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I'll
you can fit that head.
Oh man.
But NoSnoozeshop.com, like, subscribe, get your shit together, right? Because
That's right.
we definitely don't have it.
That's
But
right. Yeah.
We're talking on microphones. So it makes
Hopefully
this important.
you can stop negotiating with yourself in a negative way and learn to have the conversation with yourself. Hopefully you found today valuable, whether you listen to 1 or 142 episodes.
It's a lot of episodes.
We think you're crazy, but thank you. Thank you very much. And until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Stop negotiating with your damn self, Mike. You soft.
That's another Effie in the books. Go follow us on Instagram and Facebook at No Snooze Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze.